What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to go over chain maintenance, but something I want to do is just show you this real quick. I made this using my wife's Cricut. It's a vinyl cutting machine, and I had some of this leftover 3M Dynoc textured carbon fiber vinyl from a project that I did on my Mini Cooper like a long time ago, probably almost 2 years, and had a small sheet of it left over, so I decided I found this picture of a Duke 390 tank pad, and I threw the image into some software, converted it into a cut file, and I was able to cut it out into this cool little design and made myself my own little custom tank pad for the Duke, and it says Duke on it right there. Let's get into what we came to do. So, like I said, today's video is going to be chain maintenance. So, these are the products that I like to use. This is Dupont chain and sprocket degreaser, and also Dupont chain saver wax-based chain lube. I like this lube because it doesn't leave like a really thick wax base like a lot of other lubricants do. A lot of the ones that lay on really thick, they tend to just attract more dirt and sand, which is not really good for your O-rings. The more sand and dirt that can stick to it, the worse you're really off. So this is actually formulated with Teflon. And Teflon's the same stuff they use for like non-stick pans. So it repels water and it repels dirt. It doesn't really allow anything to stick to it. So that's why they call it like a self-cleaning lubricant. I've used it on my last 2 bikes or 3 for the past like year and a half or year, and it has worked great. I've had no issues with it. I lubricate the chain like at least every 500 miles, sometimes even sooner, especially if you've driven in wet weather. You want to go ahead and get a good base of lube on there because the lube will wear out as time goes on. It flings off or it gets washed off and so on and so forth. So you want to relube the chain at least every 500 miles. I would say a good practice is like every 3 tanks of gas, especially on this bike, because you get about 165 to 170 miles out of a tank, so you'll be roughly close to where you need to relube anyways. And then I like their degreaser because it's safe for O-ring chains, and this part right here, no water rinsing required. So a lot of water-based degreasers, you have to rinse the chain off with water afterwards, or else when you go to lay your lubricant on, you'll still have degreaser on the chain, and it'll just eat your lubricant away, and you'll have done this for nothing. So this is evaporative. So after you're done degreasing, you just wipe the chain off real good with your rag, and it will dry to the touch within about an hour or so. So no rinsing required, and when you rinse the chain with water, they take forever to dry. So that's why I like that degreaser. So without further ado, I'm going to show you some other tools that I also use when I do this job. All right, so aside from your wax and your degreaser, some things that are really helpful for when you're doing this job, for one, is a rear stand, because I can put the bike up on the rear stand and I can rotate the wheel and the chain. If you don't have a rear stand or a means to prop the wheel off the ground, you're going to have to push your bike up and down your driveway and do it a section at a time, which is perfectly fine. Just as long as you're doing the job is all that matters. Do the maintenance. But having that rear stand helps a ton. Another tool is this tri-tipped brush. This is a stiff nylon bristle brush. You can get these off of Amazon. I'll probably put the link in the description so you guys can see these. I'll put the link to the description for these too. But this brush is great because you can basically attack 3 sides of the chain at once. And it also has this end right here, which is nice for getting into any kind of little crevice areas. It's really helpful for when you clean out from under the chain guard, or if you want to get up in the edges of like the sprocket and stuff and get some grease and whatnot off of there. So I also use some rags, just some shop rags. That'll help wipe off all the excess degreaser and lubricant. The other thing you're gonna need is, I would recommend some form of old cardboard box. And that is mainly just to protect our painted surfaces like our wheel and some other bits of the bike from getting wax and degreaser on them. Just makes things a whole lot easier for cleanup. So as things kind of drip down off of here, it'll just hit the box, and I got a rag in here too that's going to catch some of it. So what I'm going to do now is just go ahead and start spinning the chain and spraying degreaser on it at the same time.
Alright, so I went ahead and I put the helmet cam on just so I could use both hands, and hopefully this will help us record some better videos. So, like I said, just going to take my degreaser here, shake it up a bit, and then I'm going to start spraying the chain. I like the chain to move this way, so I'm going to rotate the wheel, start spraying on the old degreaser. Just go around a few times with this, control the spray. So that should be nice and saturated now. I'm just going to turn it a few times, and I don't know if you can see it, but it's starting to drip down here a little bit. So if I need to, just move a shop rag over there. Alright, at this point I can come in here with my brush, start brushing away, putting a little bit of force down on that chain. So I'm getting the top really good right now, and if I push forward and with the brush, I'll start getting this side as well. The chain is a little thin that I'm not going to hit all three areas quite, at the same time as with an equal amount of pressure. But what I do is I push down for the top and in, and then I pull up and push in for the bottom. So we'll do a few revolutions of this, and then what I'll do usually is spray another dose of degreaser on there. These revolutions are just to knock everything kind of loose. And then I'll come in here with some more degreaser. Spray everything down with a little heavy stream. Get this thing really wet. You can see, I don't know how well the camera's picking it up, but oh, look at that. Look how dirty that puddle is that's coming from underneath the sprocket cover. It's filthy. So I'll get that on there. Alright, I'm going to take, actually, stop dripping, so I'll use this one since it's already saturated. I want to save this one for now. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my shop rag, I'm going to fold it over a little bit. I'm going to put it on all sides of the chain here. I'm going to rotate the wheel, and all I'm doing at this point is trying to get all of the excess degreaser off the chain. So it's really saturated and wet right now. So I'm just doing this to take off a lot of the excess, and look at all of that grime coming off of there. So just fold your rag around a little bit, get to a newer, cleaner spot. Just keep going around, getting as much of this off as possible. So it'll take quite a few revolutions and quite a few turns of your rag. I like to come in here and kind of wipe up against the edge of the sprocket as well. So you can turn that by hand as well. Do it to the other side. We're not trying to be super precise here, We're just trying to get it clean. So it's still wet, but it's not saturated. So at this point, what I need to do is I need to wait about an hour, maybe even a little bit more, for this stuff to dry. This stuff is flammable, so don't put a heat up to it. That's not smart. So once this dries, I'll come back, we'll cut the cameras back on, and we'll go into waxing.
Alright, so we've allowed enough time for our chain to dry, at least as well as possible. One thing to keep in mind is just make sure you keep drying it and cleaning it with your rag until you get the rag to stop picking up a whole bunch of dirt and grime. Like, you want to do it till your rag starts coming out pretty clean. I mean, you're not going to get it 100%, but just keep cleaning the chain and wiping it off when you're doing the cleaning portion until you're satisfied with how clean the chain is. So now we're ready to apply our lubricant. And one thing I just want to show you real quick, I already sprayed two little patterns right there. But with this lubricant, it comes out pretty clear. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see the wax part of it right there. And it's not dripping down, it's not running off. So this stuff does cling on pretty well. And whenever I'm applying the lubricant, I do like to use it without the straw, at least initially when I'm spraying like in this area right here, because it has a pretty, like a little bit of a wide spray pattern. And then that way I don't have to sit there and be super accurate. I can get like both sides of the O-rings and the chain at the same time. Usually I'll put the straw in. If I come back here, I'll direct the straw towards the links right here, and I'll do like some more accurate spraying as I rotate the wheel right there. So let's go ahead and get back to the helmet camera and get to lubing this chain.
All right, so let's get to lubricating this chain then. I'm going to use one hand to rotate the wheel and the other one to spray. So I don't want to go so heavy that it starts dripping all over the place and making a mess. Let me rotate that around a little and we'll just check our progress. I'll spray the sides of the links here a little bit. Alright. Get a little more on the top of the links. Make sure you shake this stuff up every once in a while. Get some more lube on there. Alright, that should be good. I got a bunch of it on the back of the cardboard there. Nothing's really dripping down off of anything, so that's good. Like I said, this stuff, it clings pretty well. It comes out thick enough that it's not just going to run off your chain. So, with that being done, let me go ahead. I'm going to take this straw, put that on here. And one thing I like to do as well is come to the back side of the motorcycle and kind of get some accurate spray into where those O-rings sit. So I'll do that. Shake this up a little bit. And then I'll get the right hand side like so. It can be a little hard to manage. That should be good. Alright, I think we are lubricated. So, the bottle says to allow about a 30-minute dry time. And what I'm doing right now is I'm just using the rag. I'm barely pressing it up against the chain, like just touching the chain with it really. And I just like to do like a rotation or two to get any of the excess off of there. I don't want it to be like just super saturated. Another thing I like to do is hit up the side of the sprocket right here, just so the sprocket doesn't get a bunch of wax dried up all over it that can potentially pick up dirt. And I can put my fingers on the inside and do the other side of it as well. So I'm just trying to make sure that it's not like super overly saturated or anything like that. So, alright, so at this point you would just allow this to sit and dry for at least 30 minutes. And once you come back and you touch it, it should be a little bit tacky, but not too much. This stuff isn't like super heavily, tacky, and it's designed to repel dirt with that Teflon. I really like this chain lubricant. It works really well. It doesn't make your chain look all gunky like a lot of the other wax lubricants can do. So that's going to be it for today's video, guys. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me if you would. Leave a like, leave a comment, and I will see you guys in the next one.